Okay, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to drain the ink out of your system or out of your printer and moisturize the lines and moisturize your head and wet cap it for when you're going away or for when you want to transport your printer. First thing you want to do is ensure that your printer is off. You're going to want to make sure you have a couple of jugs of distilled water, depending on the size of your printer. And then you're going to come over and you're going to drain all of your ink first. So take all of your ink out of the containers and then recycle it back into the proper container. So just put your ink back in your container, seal the bottle or your ink bottle, and then seal it up. And then after you've drained these, we're going to put distilled water in them. Okay, so once you've emptied them all of their ink, you're going to want to put distilled water in each one. So next thing you're going to want to do is remove your out for your white ink. So you just take a star head, 2 screws, just one on each side, put them inside there for now. Take those 2 screws out. Now I'm going to use a distilled bottle. You need like a waste tank or something to put this into, to start wasting into. So this needs to go into a waste tank, and then we can start to cycle through all the distilled water and clear the lines. Okay, so I'm gonna use this distilled bottle as a waste tank, and I'm gonna pull out from here carefully. So you wanna get a piece of paper towel. I usually just rip a little piece of it to sort of stick around as I pull it out. I'm holding the paper towel down and pulling it out very slowly and kind of wrapping around it. So as I pull it out, it's wiping it from any ink that's on it. And just when you get near the end, just pull it out at the end it's a little bit stiff. So you got to give it a little bit of a tug. But as I'm pulling it out, I'm wiping it. So I have a paper towel wrapped around it and I'm pressing down on it and I'm pulling out at the same time very slowly. And then once it comes out, I kind of just hold the paper towel on the end of it so it doesn't spill anywhere. I'll bring it over to my waste tank or whatever you're putting it into and then put it into there. And now everything will waste into here. So it'll cycle through the system, go through the manifold, and then it will cycle out all of the white that's in there. Okay, so once you're all ready, you've got your white and your waste tank set up, and all distilled water full in each container. We are now ready to power on the machine and drain the lines. So first things first, power on your machine. Lift up your lid, expose this so you can see all the water running through. We can see our reservoir and emptying. So we're going to kind of watch everything empty out as it loads in. So the idea is to load ink and to continually fill the white up while we're doing it. For the color, they mostly just load ink. But for the white, we really got to watch because it drains a lot faster. So we're going to go through that process now. So before I start to pump the white through, I start a load ink and I allow it to start loading ink now. So when I push load ink, instead of loading ink, it's going to be loading all the distilled water through the lines until all the lines are clear. So it's going to keep loading, distilled water going through. Then once we get this all cleared with distilled, then we're going to put our moisturizer through it. But we need all of these lines clear first. Now you can load ink from Print XP. I'm going to do from the controls on the actual printer. So on this one in particular, I have to change it from remote to local, which means now I have control of the panel. Then I'm going to hit menu. I'm going to go down to jet maintenance, enter. I got two heads, select head 1 and 2. Got two heads selected. Going to go down to load ink and then hit enter. Now one thing you're going to want to keep in mind here is that your waste tank is going to be filling up super fast. So you're going to have to continually be changing this as well. So keep a keen eye on your waste tank while you're loading ink and while we're draining the lines. So then just hit load ink, hit enter. And now it's going to start to load all of the distilled water through the lines. So it's going to start to clear all of the lines here. All these lines are going to start to get clearer now. Okay, so what I do is I turn my pump up nice and slow till I start seeing it pump out. And now we've got the white pumping out through here. So now I'll just leave this running. Again, you got to keep an eye on that because it's going to drain. But you don't pump while you're loading ink. So you kind of do it in between. So right now I'll turn the pump on. So I can pump a little bit of white out. Now I can turn that off, come over here, go back down to jet maintenance and load ink again. Now what it's doing when you turn it off is it's allowing it to suck the rest through the line, through your dampers to clear your dampers out. And then we run it at the end to just clear out the actual lines and the manifold itself. But right now we're loading ink. We're letting the water load in through here, and we're going to let that clear up. Our colored lines are cleared already, so it's pretty much ready for moisturizer. Now we just got to get these white lines nice and clear. And again, as it's loading ink, it's draining. For the most part, like I said, the color you don't got to worry so much about. It drains pretty quick. It's the white that you just have to continually fill. So once it gets to halfway or a little under half, I just refill it again with some more water and just continue to load ink and to pump this out until the lines are clear. So now it's loading through and it's starting to get a little murky, so it's starting to clear up now. You'll notice the white doesn't look so white anymore. It starts to kind of look cloudy, and then it goes from cloudy to clear. So it's starting to look cloudy to clear. It just finished loading ink. I'm going to empty out a bit more of the reservoir here. So I'm just going to run my pump and let that pump out some more of it through there. So So again, the pump's running, it's just running through here, just draining this line. So once you're loading ink and it starts to look, so I just ran the pump for another minute, ran a bit more through the line into the waste tank over there. And now, as soon as these start to look murky, keep loading ink until this drains. Again, pumps off while you're loading. So just keep loading ink until this gets to the bottom. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna rinse out the container and get it as clear as we can, and then start to run it through again with clearer water than this, because it keeps getting murky. So what I like to do is I like to load out, once it starts to get a little bit cleared up, I know it's really watery, I'll load ink until it's empty, I'll drain the rest out, I'll rinse it with a little bit of distilled, and then I'll suck that little bit of rinsed out until I get it cleared. Okay, so once you empty it, just keep sucking it out and rinsing it out. And then once you get all the ink out of there, or once it starts to look clear, just fill it up so it's nice and clear. And then what you're gonna do is load ink, allow a little bit of that to load in, some of the clear stuff, let it load in. And then we're gonna circulate the rest and clear out the rest of the white line. Okay, so just load ink. Now to really start to clear up, that murkiness will start to clear up. Because right now all we're doing is loading ink. As you can see, it loads ink from the container. That's the one line from the container. It's gonna load it all in here. It's gonna clear it up. And then what we're gonna do, once we have all this nice and clear, is we're gonna pump this and clear that murkiness out to clear. And then after we're done all that, we're gonna fill up the containers and we're gonna moisturize all of our lines and we're gonna moisturize our print heads. Okay, so now we've loaded ink. The lines are clear here. Now I can cancel that for a sec. Let's just cancel that, hit N, just let it sit on the main menu for a second, or that menu screen. We're gonna come over and now we're gonna pump the ink that's remaining. So let's get the pump going and I'll let you guys watch that go out. So now the pump's going. There it goes. Oh, it already drained it. So there it goes. So now it drains out that line right into the waste tank. And that's where that line goes. So again, this is your in, this is your out. In, out. So now that that line is clearing out now and pumping into the waste tank, I just wait until this waste tank or this hose is clear. And that way I know the whole line is clean. And then we could put that piece back on here, because now it's only going to recycle clear water. So again, now that this line is clear and our dampers are clear now of white, we can take this and we can put this back into the white ink tank. So just kind of press it back in, turn it to where the screws are, and then put the screws back in. Okay, now that's back on. And now we can just move these out of the side. Made a little mess here of just water. Just wipe that up. And now what we do is just do a final run with water. It's got water in there. So now they all have water. I'm gonna do one last load ink. Load it through. And then I'm gonna take out any of the distilled water left. I'm gonna recycle it back in here into the container for next time, for another use for me. And then we're gonna put our moisturizer inside the containers and run the moisturizer through all the lines. Okay, so I've just disconnected, or I've just put that back in now. So now I'm gonna do, and we got water, distilled water levels are still good. Gonna do one more load ink, jet maintenance, load ink, head 1 and 2. So just the last load ink, just to really make sure that everything's out of there. It'll clear out any last little murkiness if there is any, and then we're gonna get our moisturizer through there so we can put this thing to bed for a little while. In my case, I'm shipping this. So I'm prepping it for shipping, but the preparation for shipping, this part of it is the same as if you're gonna go away on vacation and you wanna clear your lines until you get back. So that way your heads aren't all clogged up. They're gonna be nice and filled with moisturizer, staying nice and moist until you get back and not drying with ink. Okay, so that last load ink just finished. So now I'm gonna close this for a sec. I'm gonna go drain all this, so I'm gonna suck it out with the syringe, or you can pour it in, either or. You could pour it in back into the container, your preference. But once you get all of these empty with the distilled water, then we're gonna put moisturizer and load ink and get moisturizer running through this. Okay, so once you've taken all the distilled water out of each container, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your moisturizer and you're just gonna put not too much in each one. I'll kind of show you from the levels at the back. So you just put a little bit in each one, enough to get it down through the lines. So just about that much in each one. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming amount, just enough to suck through the moisturizer and get it into your lines. But you also want to put enough in there where it's not going to, while you're loading ink, it's not going to run dry. So you can put a little extra moisturizer and then pull it out and recycle it after. It doesn't hurt. So a little bit more is fine, because once the lines are loaded, then you can pull out any extra that's in each container. Okay, so my containers are partway filled with moisturizer now. And what we want to do is we want to run the moisturizer and get it all through the lines. Now remember, when you're loading ink, this part's going to fill up with moisturizer, and then we're going to fill this up and turn the pump on and get this filled with moisturizer after. So what we do first is we're going to go over and we're going to load the moisturizer into our heads. So loading, enter. Again, always checking your waste tank. Make sure that it's not full or filling up. If it is, empty it. So now we're loading ink into both heads, and it's moisturizer actually. So we're loading moisturizer now. So we loaded distilled water. Now we're loading our moisturizer through the lines. And again, you want to put enough in there where it's not going to run the line dry. And you can always recycle the moisturizer after and put it back in the container. So I have another bottle of moisturizer with a little bit of dye in it, so it runs through the lines. So I just put some of that in each one. It's just moisturizer with a little bit of dye in there, just to show it's all moisturized through the lines. You don't have to do that, of course. You just have to run the moisturizer. This is just for shipping and new printer purposes. So I'm just going to put in the colored moisturizer and load ink again. You've only got to load ink about maybe 3 to 4 times, and then it's all throughout the line. And then you can take out any excess moisturizer that's in the containers, and you can just recycle that. So like I said, about 3 or 4 times to load ink. Now we're going to know, the reason I know that is because every time I put this in there, it takes 1 or 2 to actually get it to start changing color. So I say, to make sure that moisturizer is running through all of your lines safely, I would run it at least 4 times. just to ensure moisturizer is throughout the whole system. Now you can kind of see it coming in there. Now it's coming in the color lines. And now you can see that one line is staying clear. That's because I still have to run the pump. So now I know the moisturizer is run through my heads. So now I'm going to just let a little bit extra load in there, just to really ensure that moisturizer is running through the heads. And then I'm going to end this. And now to fill that, to get that line filled up, all we do is go over to our circulation pump. And I'm going to count how long so we'll be able to see the color come through here, and that's how long it takes to actually come through. So let's do a count when I turn on the pump. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so 14, 15. So about 15 seconds, and then all of the moisturizer has run through the line. So now I have moisturizer running through this line. It's running through all the lines throughout the whole thing. That's turned pink now. So now we're all moisturized in the head, and that is it. So now from this point, you can just kind of clean everything up, and it wet caps itself. Okay, so once all the moisturizer's through, it's wet capped. So you don't even have to wet cap at this point. As you're loading ink and after you stop it, it's actually wet capped. So from this point, you can literally just hit power off, shut her down, put the caps back on. Well, drain any, if you have leftover moisturizer, just take it and put it back into your container to reuse later. And what you're doing is you're sucking it all the way out to the end, basically. Just suck all that moisturizer out, because when you get back, all you're gonna do is put ink in each one, and then you're gonna load ink, and you're gonna load the ink through, and just clear out all the moisturizer that's in the lines until the inks run through the lines. So that's it. That's how you, so for me, that's how I ship out. And for anyone going on vacation for more than 3 or 4 days or a week and doesn't have anyone to come and run the machine to exercise it, that is the process that you have to go through to drain the lines of ink and moisturize your lines and your printer head until you get back. And that's it. Thanks for watching.